You smile in meetings. You crack jokes with friends. You show up for everyone who needs you. And nobody, not a single person, would ever guess that the moment you close your door at night, something completely different happens. The composure cracks. The weight you've been carrying all day finally lands. And you sit alone with feelings you didn't even let yourself feel in public. If that sounds familiar, this video was made for you. There's a specific kind of person who lives a double life, not in a dishonest way, but in a deeply exhausting way. In public, they are calm, composed, dependable, the one people lean on, the one who always seems okay. But behind closed doors, alone, in the quiet, they fall apart in ways nobody ever sees. And the painful part, most of them don't even fully understand why they do it. Today, we're going to explain exactly why. Because understanding yourself is always the first step to healing. Point 1. They were taught that strength means silence. Think back to how you were raised. Were you ever told to stop crying? Were you ever made to feel like your emotions were too much? Were you ever praised for being tough and ignored when you were struggling? For many people who are strong in public but break down alone, the pattern started in childhood. Someone, a parent, a teacher, a situation, taught them that showing emotion was weakness, that crying was embarrassing, that needing help was something to be ashamed of. So they learned to perform strength. They built a version of themselves that never breaks in front of others, a version that holds it together no matter what. And they got so good at performing that version that now they can't turn it off even when they want to. The strength became a costume they can't take off in public, and the only place they ever feel safe enough to remove it is alone. Point 2. They became the strong one and now they're trapped by it. At some point in their lives, something happened. Maybe they were the oldest child who had to hold the family together. Maybe they were the friend who everyone came to with their problems. Maybe they went through something hard and came out the other side still standing. And people noticed. They started calling them strong, reliable, unbreakable. And that label felt good at first. It felt like identity. But here's the trap nobody tells you about. When people see you as the strong one, they stop asking if you are okay. They stop checking on you. They assume you don't need it. And you, not wanting to shatter the image they have of you, start to believe that showing weakness would disappoint everyone. So you keep performing, you keep carrying, you keep showing up for everyone else. And at night, alone, the weight of all that carrying finally has nowhere to go. So it comes out in tears you never planned, in exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, in a silence so heavy it feels like it has its own weight. Point 3. Vulnerability feels like losing control. Here is something people who break down alone rarely admit even to themselves. Part of the reason they don't fall apart in public isn't just about what others will think. It's about control. When you are strong in public, you are in control of how people see you. You decide what they know. You decide what they don't. You manage the image. But the moment you cry in front of someone, the moment you say, "I'm not okay," you hand them something. You give them access to a part of you that is unguarded. And for someone who has learned that being vulnerable leads to being hurt, dismissed, or misunderstood, that feels terrifying. So they hold it together in public. They stay in control, and they save the falling apart for the only place where no one can see them and use it against them, their own private space, their own four walls, where being out of control finally feels safe. Point 4. They are exhausted in a way that rest cannot fix. People assume that if you look fine on the outside, you must feel fine on the inside. But the people who are strong in public carry a specific kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with sleep. It is the exhaustion of constant performance, of monitoring every expression, of catching yourself before you say too much, of smiling when you want to cry, of answering, "I'm good," when someone asks how you are, even though you haven't been good in a very long time. This kind of tiredness doesn't go away with a good night's sleep. It builds over months, over years, until one day you close the door behind you and you don't even know what triggers it. You just suddenly feel everything you spent the entire day refusing to feel. And that release, as painful as it is the only honest moment you allow yourself all day. Point 5. They are not broken. They are just carrying too much alone. Here's the part that most people in this situation need to hear. You are not weak for breaking down alone. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are someone who has been carrying enormous weight without anyone to help you hold it. The breaking down isn't the problem. The problem is the alone part, because you were never supposed to carry all of this by yourself. Strength was never meant to mean silent suffering. It was never meant to mean pretending so well that no one ever knows you need help. Real strength, the kind that actually costs something, is finding one safe person and saying, "I'm not okay." Not to everyone, just to one person who has earned that part of you. Because the version of you that breaks down at night deserves just as much care as the version that holds everything together in public. And the longer you keep those two versions completely separate, the lonelier both of them. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The world will keep rewarding your public strength. It will keep leaning on you. It will keep calling you reliable and unbreakable. And it will never voluntarily make space for the version of you that struggles. Unless you create that space yourself, nobody is coming to rescue you from the performance. Nobody is going to magically notice that behind your composure there is someone who is tired and hurting and desperately needs to be held without having to hold everything together first. That has to be a choice you make. Not tomorrow. Not when things get worse. Now, you don't have to stop being strong. Strength is genuinely part of who you are. But strength and honesty are not opposites. You can be both. You can be the person people rely on and still have one space, one person, one outlet where you don't have to perform, where you can just be tired, where you can just be human. Because carrying everything alone isn't strength. It's just loneliness wearing a very convincing mask. And you deserve more than that. If this described you, if you've been the strong one for so long that you forgot what it feels like to let someone else hold something for you, subscribe. Because every week we put into words the things that are hardest to say. And sometimes just knowing someone else understands is enough to make the weight feel a little lighter.